Okay, so I'm also recording the session. I've just started the recording. Yeah. Um, um, okay. So what I want to do is what I how I've planned this session is broadly. I want to talk to take about half an hour or so, or maybe less than that, 20 minutes to kind of little introduce what my or our thoughts are basically about open learning and. And then tell a little about how kind of briefly how we do it at Aarohi. Um, in some ways, maybe share a small video and so on. And then we will. So this would take about 15-20 minutes, and then we'll kind of go through a lot of question answers. So just a request, just hold on with your questions, and let me finish, and then kind of after 20 minutes it's all discussion based. So hope that is fine. um, right, and just to get I hope everybody can see the I've made us put together a small slideshow, so I hope you can see the slideshow. um, one uh, w- so so often there are different terms that are used for when people talk about uh, open learning, and some people use the term homeschooling, some people use the term unschooling, we use the term open learning, some people use the term home education or open education. So right now we're not trying to differentiate between these terms, but say that they're all the same. They're just synonyms. They're just used by different people talking about the same thing. Anything which is particularly not aligned with the conventional schooling, I would say the rest all fall in this category. Some people also use as the term alternate schooling. So but alternate schooling I think is little different. So we'll talk about that later, what are the differences between these, if you are interested in knowing that. But right now let's just explore what I'm calling as open learning or unschooling or homeschooling or home education. So I will be using the term open learning, but you can feel free to use whichever term you feel like using. Okay, so uh, the point where I want to start is this thought that is there only one way? Is there only one way to kind of look at um, look at learning, look at education, look at first, let's say, 20 years of the child's life or our life, and uh, yeah. So it looks like if I look outside the window, it looks like there's only one way. There seems to be only some options. There don't seem to be options available. There seems to be a one way. So when I look at that one way, and incidentally, I also came through that one way in the sense I also studied in a school, went to college, and so on. Uh, there are some questions that come to our mind, and that's the questions I want to start with, and I want you to ponder upon. In fact, we are talking about four questions right now. The first one is that do we need to bind the child with a curriculum? Uh, um, that's the first question, and this is something that we when we started off, when we started working with children about 20 years back, we didn't really start with this thought. uh, we just started off working with them not knowing really what to do, and when we started working we realized that that is one way that we bind the children with the curriculum, but the other way is to let the child decide what to learn. And this came from the realization, because we were observing children, that children are capable of deciding what to learn and even to go ahead how to learn, but most importantly the child is capable of deciding what to learn. And somewhere we have created this whole thing that this is more important or that is more important. So but if the child can decide for himself, then who are we to kind of interfere in that? Yeah, so that was the first thought that we had. um, the second thought that we have was that we are too programmed, or you can say conditioned to teach. But what happens if we don't teach? Then we realize that the child is able to find what solutions the child needs in whichever way the child uh, wants to learn something. It could be, as I said, just by observing others, or asking a peer, or asking an adult, or asking a guide. So the child can also go ahead and ask somebody to teach, but most beautifully, the child is able to learn, uh, and find ways of learning. Yeah. And the no better example than this is the first few years of the child, from the age 0 to 2 3, when the child is just learning amazing amount of stuff without any one of us teaching. We don't teach mother tongue. We don't really teach the child how to walk or how to eat or so on. The child watches us, experiments, drops the food all over the place, falls down so many times, makes so many mistakes while speaking the mother tongue, and so on. And the child is able to, figure out, uh, by many ways, by obviously observing. So that's the second thought. The third thought is that, do we really need to assess the child? Something that I cringe on when somebody tells me that I'm going to assess you. So I don't like assessment in my adult life. Uh, I like feedback, which is different from assessment. I don't need to give an exam to prove myself that I am good or I'm better than somebody. I just need to do what I would like doing, and I can take feedback of myself, which is self reflection or self assessment, or I can take feedback from everybody around me. So if that is how I live all my adult life, uh, after let's say 20, 25 years, then why do I need to live my first 20 years in a different form where somebody else is all the time judging me? Uh, the fourth one is, is very interesting. Is that somewhere this society of the last, I would say, about 100 to 120 years has created a system of school, college degrees, and people are doing all kinds of things to get these degrees. The question is that, do we really need that? Do we really need the degrees? Uh, can we not? Can the child not decide whether the child wants to have a degree, not have a degree, and learn in a college or not learn in a college? Can we not learn a lot of things outside the college? Can we not then go ahead and live our life the way we want to live it, not necessarily in a job, not necessarily through a degree? I can get jobs without a degree, and so on. So we saw so many children being able to do that, so many people being able to do that, so many super successful people being able to do that, so many ordinary people able to do that. So we're kind of questioning this whole rush to get great marks, get into a great college, pay lots of fees, and get a degree, and then kind of get almost stuck with that. So many people I see who leave their whatever degrees they've got and go into some totally different, you know, kind of career path. So that also then one starts questioning, and I'm one of them. I went through the whole thing, the engineering degree, the the MBA degree, and it just doesn't make sense now. Now that what I'm doing has nothing to do with those degrees. So it's kind of interesting. Why do we need to have degrees when we are not anyway going to use them? Right. So these are the four thoughts that we wanted to question, or four aspects that we wanted to question. The first one being the curriculum, the second one being the aspect of teaching, the third one is of assessment, and the fourth one is of degree. These questions are more vis-a-vis the, you can call it the conventional system, which is as of today existing. Yeah. But by itself, the journey of open learning isn't about questioning the conventional system. The journey of open learning is somewhat more interesting if we sit back or step back and say, hey, what is the purpose of education? What is does it mean to me? Is there anything called as education? Right. So that was the journey we went through. We when we started working with children, we started asking this question. um, is it to learn, is it to earn, or what is it this purpose of education. And the couple of thoughts that came to our mind at that time, and they still stay with us, is the first is that um, I, I I don't really stop learning at any point of time. Um, I may learn more or less, but in my whole life, the purpose, the learning never really stops. In which case, how is learning different from living? And if learning and living are kind of same, then why do we need an education? We just need a life, right? We just need to live it. And so which to us means almost like saying that there is nothing called as learning, there's nothing called as education. In the sense, we are all the time learning and all the time educating, which is part of our living, right? Uh, so it's a subset of living. It's not by itself something that we need to achieve, right? If we are living, we are learning, kind of thing. And the other thought that came to our mind is that the moment we put it in a box called education, we try to think that the purpose of education is to teach A, B, C, D, these four things to the child. So that's something that we wanted to question, because that wasn't very intuitive. So we all want to just, as adults, we want to learn what we want to learn or do what we want to do. As children, we wanted to learn what we wanted to learn, but we weren't allowed to. So it made all the sense that if this is what I want is an open life, which means, uh, and I don't know whether you want open life or not, but I would like to have an open life. Open life meaning which is driven by me, and I want that to be the whole part of my life. Why should it be totally governed by somebody else? So that was the thought. Um, so in a way, the purpose of education is to live. So that means there's no purpose of education, or you can say there's no need of any education, which is just live. And living involves doing, learning, etc. Uh, yeah. So what we are doing right now in terms of our education system is a lot of feeding a lot of stuff to children, whether they want it, like it, interested in, and so on. We don't really dwell on that too much. We say this is important, so you better learn it. Though when we really think about it, is this really important? To give you an example, most of us would have learned that G is equal to 9.8 something, the gravity. But I don't think most of us have ever used this unless you are a scientist or a physicist or something like that in your career. So that would be what 0.00001%, right? Rest everybody else. I don't think we have ever used that, or for that matter, anything else that we learned in school. Lot of things we haven't used. Even when I say mathematics, most of us just use addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, maybe percentages in our day-to-day life. We haven't really used anything else we learned in mathematics. I don't think we learned algebra. I don't think we really learned uh, a lot of other stuff. But on the other side, something which we really need on a day-to-day basis, let's say something like emotions. Wherever I live, whichever part of the world, even if I live alone, I'm going to go through emotions, right? Whether in job, whether at home, whether with my family, colleagues, emotions are every single day part of it. And still not a single school, in the sense of, I'm not trying to say school as in any school, but the conventional schools, there is no space for learning about emotions, not even in college, at least not in my college. So it's interesting, what we really need we are not learning. So it's interesting, that, hey, is this really about our life or is it about something else? Okay, so that leads us to, hey, what is it that we really want? What kind of life we want? What kind of childhood we want to offer to our children? And the thought that comes to us is that, hey, I want a childhood where I am the leader. Leader not of a group of people or of a thought process, but leader of myself. I want to lead myself, and that's where the children can lead themselves. So if that's the thought, then everything else can be kind of built around or conceived around this thought that I am the leader uh, of myself. So that is what we thought we want to offer to children, because it made a lot of sense to us. And yeah, that's where we are. Right. Okay. So that was very quickly about our thoughts about open learning, and I'm sure a lot of it is not new to you. Uh, I just wanted to put this together so that we have the perspective. I also want to quickly share a little about, maybe in the next 5 minutes, a little about how we kind of work uh, at Aarohi, how we look at open learning. Um so we say the open learning is about giving the child a kind of a space where the space is kind of in my hand, right? It's like the child's hand has the leadership of himself. So that's the kind of space that we want to give. So we played around with this acronym of SPACE to build a kind of how do we build this? What kind of a space it is? So for us, the S stands for self-driven in open learning, uh, which means I decide what I want to do, how I want to do. Now, this may look, for many people, this looks very especially with children. I mean, are they capable? Are they old enough? Can they decide really? And so on. Um, what we have realized is that when I want to learn something, as a child, when a child wants to learn something, when he wants to do something, or when she wants to acquire a skill, there is no stopping. So that's why we have this little whatever poem which we say, it's not the skill, it's not the will, when it's the hill you'll have to climb. So when I want something, I'll just do it. I don't need to think about skill and motivation and directions and discipline and none of those. I just want to have it. So that's the space that we want to give to the child, that hey, you drive yourself, right? And obviously you will drive yourself out of your interest, about your joys, not something that I decide. Yeah, so that's the S that we want to offer. The P that we want to offer is people. We think that the most amazing thing in this world, or in this universe, if you say, are people. And if I want to learn something, I learn from in either from or with or in the company of so many people, right? So we go ahead and tell every child, hey, you are the center of the universe. So go ahead and uh, you can explore anything that you want, because there are people around you. People will guide you, people will whatever challenge you, people will help you understand something. But people doesn't mean some teachers or your parents, none of those. People means the whole world. Some people have written books for you, some people have written made videos for you, some people are available. You can go and travel and live with them and learn from them. Interestingly, we have, in our journey of 20 years, whenever we have asked somebody that, hey, you know this, would you guide a child who's interested in that? The answer has never been no. The answer has always been yes, I'm more than happy to guide or mentor a child. So why should we think of only few people as teachers? Let the whole world be mine. Yeah. So that's the second thing, giving them the realization that everybody in this world is at your disposal. Go ahead, learn from anybody and everybody whom you want to learn from. The third aspect of the space that we want to give is acceptance of everything, acceptance of different styles of learning, different needs of learning, different ways of learning, um, different strengths, different skills, different personalities, and so on. So I often give this analogy to people that if you put a dot in front of your hand, if you see the presentation, on the hand, there's a dot in the middle. And if you try to touch all the fingers of your, let's say, left hand on the same dot, right? Try doing that right now, and you will realize that um, only some fingers reach that dot. And if you put more dots in your hand, you will see, oh, yeah, only some fingers reach some dots. What that really means is, which we all know, is that all hands are different. So all of us are different. Yeah, we don't need to be the same, and we are same in so many different ways. Uh, in fact, we are so different that we are all same, because we are same because we are different. If that makes sense. So we are same only because we are all different. And interestingly, I was reading about dinosaurs, and I read that there were so many different species. There were some thousands of species of dinosaurs, and each one was so different from the other in terms of what they eat, how they go around, walking, running, burrowing, young ones, and so on. So if dinosaurs can have such an amazing diversity, everything has so much of diversity. So why get stuck with one one formula? Yeah. So give children that acceptance that however you are absolutely fine. Um, the the C stands for choices, where the whole idea is that go ahead, explore. Everything in life is a choice, right? Everything that you do. True open learning is not about me telling this is better than that, all right? That this kind of behavior is better than that kind of behavior. If somebody shouts on the other child or even hits the other child, I would say, okay, that's a choice. You are choosing this choice. You have other choices also. They're all choices, not that one is better than the other. That's for you to decide. That is what is open learning. If one is wasting water, one is conserving water. To me, both the children are just choosing different things, and it's all right for them to choose what they want to choose. Now, I can show them that there are more choices, but finally, it is a choice that they are living out from, and in a way that there are so many choices of learning, doing, perspectives, and so on. And that is really powerful. This whole idea that I have so many choices, I can choose, I can decide, means I have lots and lots of power. I have even the choice how I feel, how I respond, and how I live my life. And finally, the E is for the effort. We say the real joy comes from doing something, from putting in an effort, even if the effort is tough, even if the effort is challenging, even if it's a failure. So Aarohi, we say, is a place for failure. Come over and we'll ensure that you fail. In the sense, if we are not really helping you to succeed, then chances are you will fail many, many times. Right? Which obviously means that whatever happens in our life is an opportunity to learn because we need to put in effort. I'm reminded this dialogue kind of from the book Life of Pi and also the movie Life of Pi, where uh, where Pi says that I couldn't have survived if there was no tiger in my boat. So if you think of it, there is a tiger in your boat, that's a problem. But what looks like a problem is actually a huge opportunity. It's in case of Life of Pi, it meant the life of Pi. It was about getting life from the very what we call as danger. Right. So that's what to us Aarohi and the life education or the open learning uh, at Aarohi is all about. It's about self-driven. It's about people. It's about accepting each one of us as we are very different from each other. It's about choices and taking those decisions, and it's about putting in effort uh, in whichever area you like to put in effort. Right. So what I'll do is I'll quickly share a video. Um, um, about how Aarohi works. Also, this one little visual or this picture, if you can see on your screen, a boy rowing a boat, a raft actually, which he himself has made, to me is defines Aarohi. This one picture, it's open to all ages, it's open to all kinds of learnings. In this case, the child is learning how to make a raft of his nose and then kind of swim in, or rather, uh, float on the raft all by himself. And it also illustrates how obviously he hasn't done this all by himself. There's a community behind it. There are people of all ages who has helped him, which we can't see in the picture. They are actually the people taking the picture in a way. They're the ones standing on the shore and observing him, watching him, encouraging him to go ahead in deeper into the lake with his own raft. So that's what Arrow is all about. And I could be rowing the whole day. Okay, so yeah, let me take a pause and let me show you a small video which is made by one of the child of Aarohi. And yep, we can then move on with more thoughts and questions. Right, so just give me a moment as I pull up the video. So I'm starting the video now. Do let me know, or at least one person in chat window, that you're able to watch the video fine.
Aarohi is a learning community where all of us learn together, eat together, sleep together, and also play together. We take care of each other and look after others' needs. And our campus is an open place where you can come and do whatever you want related to learning. In Aarohi, I can decide what I want to learn. I can learn by books, by doing, from videos, or from any person in the community, or even the guest. We do not follow any curriculum. We plan what we want to learn. I decide what I want to plan and do every day.
According to me, RO is spelled as DOING. Hands-on by learning and observing and experiencing.
We have no classes, no exams. We learn what we want, and if any one of us wants to give 10th or 12th examinations, we prepare and give via open schooling like NIOS.
Like, I was interested in playing the piano. I played the piano and practiced, and I got better and better each day. And now I play really nice. That is my assessment. We live together. I am from Bangalore. I typically come every Monday and go back on Friday to my home. Some of us are from different cities. We stay here for a couple of weeks and go back home. When their parents decide, they can come back or they can stay, however long they want to stay. In Aarohi, we learn to fail and learn from failing. I made 8 gliders, all were failed, my 9th glider was successful.
We learn by meeting people and also going to places. We travel a lot, both in and around our campus, as well as traveling to other cities. We may go to museums, we may go to people's places, we may go to factories. We went recently to Hampi to explore history and kingdoms. We went to seashore to learn surfing, and so on. The list is endless.
Aarohi is a learning community. We all are here to learn different things, like playing, cooking, gardening, playing instruments.
Aarohi is an open community, which means children of all ages are welcome. I can come when I want, I can go when I want. First week I came to Aarohi and the second week I could not come to Aarohi. So I stayed back at my home. Aarohi is a community. We all are equal, we live together. There are no teachers, we learn from each other.
Aarohi is life education. I learn what I need in my life by doing it here.
Okay, let me just pull back the presentation. Yeah. So just confirm to me you could see the video. You can just confirm through the chat window. Right. Okay. Cool. Okay. So that's what was little about ROE. Just a little more add to the video. There are 4 things that we consciously do. One is we look at a lot of resources. I've already talked about people being resources or places to visit being resources. Internet itself is a huge resource. So we create lots of resources, and the resources need not be within the campus. The resources are all over the world actually. So we find different places and people and so on. We also ensure that the child has a lot of exposure. Again, the exposure need not happen in the campus. The exposure can happen outside campus. The exposure can happen from many different people that visit us, and so on. The exposure can happen from the shopkeeper down the road. So there's no limit to the exposure that can happen. So that is what, And the other way to increase the exposure is to say, hey, all learnings are equal, not like one learning is more better, like maths is better than embroidery, not like that. So if both are equal, then children get a lot of are open to exploring a lot of things. The third is our role as a facilitator, which could be at home, your role as a parent, which is to, and I think just live with them, and living itself will include a lot of pushing, pulling, talking, discussing, guiding, fighting, and so on, and even just accepting and letting go, and so on, right? So we play that role here, and at home, I'm sure you play if you are doing the homeschooling or unschooling at home. Um, and finally, one of the things which we work very assiduously on is to create a democratic environment where children feel that there's their responsibility, not just to do something, but responsible for their own life, for their own day, week, month, and they have to answer if they take any decision to all the peers, whoever's are living with them, all the adults, so the whole community. But they also have a lot of voice, not a lot of equal voice than anybody else. So everybody is equal. Yeah, uh, that is what we kind of try to do. Um, right. So I think I've finished my initial spiel. I guess it went a little longer than how much I thought. um, yeah, about half an hour. And kind of eh, pausing with this slide. So I just want to pause here and just see if there are any thoughts that you would like to share so far. Right now, don't get into questions because the rest of the time we are going to spend on questions. So uh, neither about Aarohi nor about homeschooling, unschooling. So don't ask questions for now. Let's any thoughts or comments or anything that's coming to your mind. You can either come on mic and share, or uh, you can share through the chat window. Mic would be more interesting.
Hi Ratnesh, Sonal this side.
Yeah, Sonu.
Um, for me, this is always beautiful, and I've started living actually this life in my sphere.
Sure.
The only thought that comes to me whenever I see such things happening around, that I think the right education has to start right in the families. There's
Mm,
a very small chunk of people, like you've been doing a great work in reaching people. I'm also trying my best, but then changing that mindset of parents at home, and that too right from the early years. I think that's the beginning. It has to begin right at home when the child is born.
sure.
So I'm always questioning myself, what can we do about that? How can I go about that to bring that that shift in the mindsets of people, that they start looking at such things the way we look at it. you know there is a lack of awareness. There is that knowledge lack in people, that right learning is what this is, where a child decides all by herself what is she wanting to do. And I see in my daily spheres, even the early childhood years, learning letters and numbers is on the head of educators and parents as well.
Sure. Sure.
Right definition of learning is missing. So how to go about it, how to bring that change, right from the beginning.
Well,
I
there
think.
are two
Hmm.
thoughts there. One is I don't think personally. I don't think there is anything right and wrong. I mean, this is just one way of doing it, and that's another way of doing it. And
Hmm. Hmm.
I cannot be call it arrogant enough. To say this is the right way.
I don't know, my neurology says that this is the right way.
Sure, sure. For me and you, it would be the right way.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Yeah.
trying to say what you are saying is the right way is not right way for you. It's definitely the right way for you. But for
Yeah.
somebody else, when they are ready, when they will look at it, if they want, if they don't think that right, they will find their own right. So that's number one,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Number two,
Hmm.
I think I think it's also a kind of a, if I zoom out, it's also a generation game. The next generation, I'm sure, will evolve. If the children themselves are evolving, they're seeing the
Hmm.
opening up, they're seeing how internet has made everything equal and available to everyone, the social
Hmm.
media is different. So I'm saying, please realize that they are growing up in a totally different environment. By the time they become parents, I'm sure they will have a very different perspective about education.
Absolutely, you're right.
So I'm not also trying to hurry it up that, oh, everybody within
Hmm.
should get into this. So cool, evolution takes its own time. So I'm good with it.
So you've got right chord of mind, that maybe back of mind. I have that urge to come on, change it as soon as possible. You're right.
Okay. Yep. Anybody else has a thought? As I said, hold back your questions. We'll come to questions in just a little while. But just a thought after whatever I went on rambling for half an hour. So yeah. Anybody? Okay. Maybe we are waiting for the to ask questions or to answer questions. So maybe we can get into that, and the thoughts will not come automatically um, from there. Yeah. Okay. So we'll get into that. So I think perhaps what Sonal was saying is what I'm putting here. So while we discuss the FAQs, when I share my views, I keep telling people that that is just one view. There are no right answers. There are no one answers to life and to the questions of life. And possibly that's the exciting part about living. If somebody already had a script, we just had to live it. It will be completely boring, right? If the child came with a manual as to how to whatever raise the child, then it would be so boring to raise the child. So good that there is no manual, good that there are no right ways of doing it. And also obviously we are so different. So whatever we are going to talk about, don't take it as that this is right answer. This is just one view. And also my view today might change to my view tomorrow. We are all kind of constantly learning, evolving, uh, seeing things in different ways. So please keep this mind when we talk about learning. Right. So what I've done is I've kind of gone through all the questions that was asked in the form itself, the registration form, and I've collated some questions based on the questions asked. So chances are that what you want to ask is already there on the screen, but obviously if you don't have it on the screen, you're most welcome to ask. But just before we go to the list of questions, uh, often people ask me what is the difference between open learning, unschooling, homeschooling, home education. Again, different terms. Is there a difference? So to me, it's not about the difference at all. So let's forget these terms. And the question that I like asking is, hey, what do I want? And it doesn't need to be a fixed one point. uh, to me, it's a continuum. On one end of the continuum, which you can see on the screen, is something which is structured, which is curriculum driven, where there was no much choice, which is how I went to the school, which was my, let's say, schooling or childhood. And the other side is the no structure, no curriculum, open. I decide what I want to do, which was what my summer holidays used to be when I was a kid. And in those days, luckily, there were no workshops and no classes, so I could really be totally be driven by my own choices. My parents didn't send me anywhere, at best to the grandparents' place. So if you look at that two extremes, so now if you say, hey, what is homeschooling, what is unschooling, what is home education, you can be anywhere on this continuum, or any one of us can be anywhere on this continuum. We could have it little structured, we could have few subjects thrown in, we could have less subjects thrown in. And from year to year, we may, or month to month, we may also change. This month, we are more structured. And then we say, no, we don't want the structure. We start becoming less structured, less curriculum driven, and so much less that we become zero. Then we realize, no, 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 we want some structure, so we keep moving. So it's like a journey. It's moving up and down this, or rather left to right on this continuum, and there's no real need to give name to which one is which one, right? So that's why to me there, that's not important, right? Whatever word you like, unschooling, homeschooling, whatever, open learning, yeah, home education, open education, please go ahead and use that. But realize that we are always on this continuum, and also we can keep changing. We don't need to reside in one point, um, as journey evolves. um, yeah, so um, that's the broader perspective of how we look at learning and education. Yeah, anybody, any thoughts on this? So we can get into the question mode. That's absolutely fine. Let's get asking if you have a question related to this as of now, because in the form, number of people had asked what's the difference between homeschooling and unschooling, or homeschooling and open learning, and so on. So I don't know if this has answered that question or kind of dissolved the question itself.
Hello.
Yes, Pratima.
Yeah. Hello, Ratnesh. I am Pratima. And last year I homeschooled my daughter. And in fact, I think she when came over to Aarohi for 2 weeks as well. So she really enjoyed her stay there.
Sure.
And because of her regular swimming classes, I'm not able to send her to Aarohi, though she's quite keen.
Sure.
So, but I found it very difficult to do it at home, like the way you people plan in the morning, and then the child carries out the activities by themselves. But at home, I mean, though she does the planning, she's not able to live up to her planning. So, what is my role? Because somewhere I feel I have failed, that she's not sticking on to her planning. So I just wanted your guidance on that. So how do we establish that kind of an environment at home? The way you people are doing, you people are facilitating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, okay, the first thought that comes to my mind, Pratima, is that maybe there is, when the child is planning and doing at home. Uh, I don't know if you are expecting, but somewhere we start expecting perfect planning and perfect follow up of implementation of that planning. While even as adults, we realize, even in the midst of the organizations, we realize that the plans go haywire. People don't live up to deadlines. People don't spend that much time as they had spent, as they had as they had planned. People don't do all the work that they were supposed to do, and so on. And somehow we are more accepting of that, but we kind of all worked up when the child is not going to a school. We feel, oh my goodness, now it's my responsibility. Now the planning has to happen, this has to happen perfectly. Then the implementation of the planning has to happen, and the child is not living up to he or she is not disciplined. She's not sticking to her planning, and so on. So I think we need to chill.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So even if we have seen planning here at Aarohi, but that's only a process for each child to think what the child wants to do. But believe me, the planning goes is all over the place. Children don't follow their plans. Adults don't follow their plan. I don't follow my plan, and so on. So while planning is there to help us, uh, you know, do kind of get into what we want to do. But finally, again, planning is not something we need to kind of bow down to and kind of get too much worked up about. Yeah. So that's one thing. So my perhaps my first role will be to just to accept that it will go haywire. The best of the plans will not happen.
Okay.
Child may not follow it, and open learning is not about getting the child. Just because poor guy has made a plan, now we kind of get ensured to know you have to follow it to the you know uh, so if we kind of relax on this, then we can also use that information, that where we suppose I planned something and I did not do it or was not able to do it, and my time went somewhere else. So then we can use reflection to understand what am I doing, how am I planning. Maybe I'm planning too much, maybe I need something else, maybe I need to develop some other skills, maybe I need to understand my needs and wants, maybe I need to understand time, maybe I just need to let go and not understand anything, maybe I'm good, and so on. So I know I'm not really answering your question, but the point is that uh, it suddenly becomes a journey rather than we are trying to reach somewhere. It's almost like how we live our life once we become adults. um, let's say if you are a homemaker and you are at home, right, and you would have broad plans. Okay, I will do this and I will do that, and this is what I can do, these are my responsibilities. But I'm sure a lot of openness is there for you to take up things as they come along.
True.
In the same at the workplace, and similarly same with the child. If we give that kind of an openness, then I think the children can uh, kind of grow with it rather than grow from it.
Yeah. True. I agree to whatever you say. I just want to know, in the planning, is there my involvement, or the child evolves planning themselves? Should I get involved in the planning, or because sometimes my husband says, okay, maybe she's not able to plan well, you plan for her. But I'm not of that opinion. I want the child to plan herself, and come up with her own things.
Sure, I think the idea is, I don't know, it will, first of all, it will depend on the child, and it will depend on you, and it will depend on how you want to do it. Some people like to sit with the child and plan. Some people like child planning first, then they're discussing it. Some people
Okay.
like you plan, you implement, you fail, then we will reflect and discuss together. And
Okay. So we figure out this.
some people just do a mix of all of these. Some one day I plan with you, one day I don't plan with you. I hold back. This week I'm not getting into it. Next week I do it,
Okay.
and so on. Sometimes I provide tools for the child for planning, but I don't really plan, but I help the child with certain tools. Uh, and then the child realizes, oh, this tool helps me, or no, this tool I don't want, and so on. So
Okay.
I
Okay. I
don't
get
think
it.
there is an answer.
Okay, no, at least I know what are the different ways, I mean,
Sure.
that was quite helpful. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Right. So these are the some of the questions that were there. I've just put them together just for you to know that we'll be covering all of these. So don't worry. But you can still go ahead and ask your questions. I guess Pratima's question was more about her role specific to planning, but yes, it can be about anything.
Ratnesh, Vartika here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So in an Aarohi sort of a setup, children kind of learn because they want to learn. There's a lot of like everything is because they're self motivated. Whereas a child who goes to a normal school, which is like the regular school, most of the things are told to them that okay, today we are doing reading, today we are doing writing, and everybody does the same thing. So if a child has to move out of that sort of setup and come to a Aarohi sort of a setup, uh, do you think the child is able to adjust? And then, because so far the learning has not really been self-motivated, but then suddenly to move to an environment where you only and only learn if you're self-motivated, is the child able to cope with that?
I don't know if anybody here has had an experience. Would anybody like to share their experience among the other participants where your child moved from a regular schooling to an open learning kind of an environment, not necessarily ROE, open learning at home or any other place? And how was the transition?
Yeah, maybe I'll just share in a few words. So I don't know. My daughter totally liked it because it was like a very free environment for her, and she could do whatever she wanted. So she would do a little bit of studies and a little bit of whatever her hobbies are, and she would do whatever she wants. So it was a very open kind of thing, that whole day is not stressed out, not pressurized, and she just has the whole time. Sometimes it happens the whole day she whiles away just like that. So it's like we have to calm ourselves down, but I think they really enjoy it and they look forward to it.
Okay. Thanks, Pratima.
Yeah, and also I would suggest, so that was Pratima's child's journey, but different children could have different journeys. So some may immediately take to it, some may be, let's say, skeptical about it, and some may take little time. So it's again, each child is different, and it's their journey. It's like if you change cities, some people, if you get transferred or change jobs, so some people just quickly get adjusted to the new place, but we still change jobs, we still change cities, no, we still get married. It's a totally different experience. You have to adjust to a new person in your life.
Yeah, true.
So I guess it's all right.
Yeah, thanks. That was a very good analogy,
Right.
actually.
So I think, yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Right. So I'm not going to take one question at a time. I'm just going to leave it to you. Which of these you want to talk about, to discuss? Because I don't know where this particular group. There are 19 of us here, so I don't know which questions this group want to talk about. So I will leave it to you. There's another question which is not in the list, which some people have a doubt about, is this whole thing about social skills. Child, where will the child's friends be if the child is alone at home? So that's also a question. Okay, some Rashmi has put something in the chat window. Let me check that out. Okay, gadgets. Yeah, I think that's part of. I put under, somebody's asked me is with respect to disciplining, but yeah, it could be. You are saying also gadgets versus internet. Yeah. So let me again ask other homeschoolers, people who have been doing it. How do you? Is there an issue um, with this usage? But let me start the discussion by saying here, children use gadgets for whatever learning they want to do, and yeah, towards the late evening when they have their own time, they can also use the gadgets for, let's say, entertainment. Let's say watching videos or playing some games if they want to. But primarily because daytime is when they are working, they would use it for finding information or documenting stuff, blogging and stuff like that. So that's what they do in Aarohi, but let's see what other the thoughts and questions, and are there any anxieties on this point? Yep, anybody else who has a similar question or an answer to this question, or your experience with usage of gadgets both for, let's say, entertainment as well as for information or instructions, tutorials?
Okay, I have a question on this. My kids are, the older ones are 4 year old. So, in terms of gadget, like they only see some things on the laptop or computer when I see that they're interested to know about something, and they're talking a lot about it, and they want to read, and they're more inquisitive about certain things. But what happens when I try to filter out information to show them what is relevant? There's so many other things which open up, and they want to watch everything. Now the whole thing gets diluted, and I don't know how to kind of and then there is no limit, because they want to watch each and everything. And then there's a big debate, and then if I shut it down, then they don't like it. And and they'll say, okay, we want to see something about dinosaurs, but then soon they are very distracted. So I don't know how to. So sometimes then there's no time, there's no fixed time of watching. They don't watch it sometimes once, like it'll be just once in 15 days or something. There's no rule as such that we are watching once a day or once a week, or how many minutes. So anybody can maybe throw light on this, that how do you do it? Do you filter out? Do you save information and then show? Because I mean, it can be very. Otherwise, it leads to a very funny situation. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Let's see what others have to share.
Hey, do you hear me well? This is Mithun here.
Yes, Mithun, we hear you.
Okay. So yeah, this has been an common thought across parents, right? Because we have been so much involved with all sort of gadgets, even as a parent or as an adult. We use it more than them actually,
Yeah.
and it's inevitable sometimes. And definitely, as a child, it observes and learns most part of it. What I have observed is definitely there is a desire of a child to go through use of gadgets to know the information, or to have a kind of sense to that, okay, what is happening, that there is a curiosity, I would say.
Yeah.
I would say it's just not for watching. Definitely there is a curiosity, uh, but what I have seen is whenever we say, okay, you're not watching now, so that curiosity or that interest creeps up. And if we ask a child to streamline their thoughts or their time to other things, it eventually doesn't work. Just for the sake or sake of satisfying an adult, the child would be sparing time or spending time on it. So what we have done is definitely, whenever there is a desire coming up, we have set across saying that, okay, you can watch definitely, but these kinds of videos you can watch, or timeline. We ask the child that, okay, how long you would like to watch, rather than us saying that, okay, you have got only 5 minutes, you have got 10 minutes. How long you are going to watch, and what you are going to do after that. You have watched it, now what is the next thing what you want to do? So these kinds of uh, things we put up in front of a child, so that the child can decide and take.
Okay. So I think what Mithun is talking about is kind of drawing some lines and then working through that lines, and those lines are also drawn based on what the children's needs, desires, wants are, and not just our desires and wants. So it's kind of striking a balance. And I'm sure he would also be extending it to that these lines itself can be drawn by the child, or we all together can sit and say, hey, how do we want to draw these lines? Not just for children, even for adults in the house, who can be on gadget for how long, or who can be distracted for how long, and so on. So we can create our own ecosystem within the home. Sometimes people feel that the moment there is a rule, how can there be a rule in open learning? Well, how can there be rules on the road, right? But there are rules on the road when we drive. Though still we can go wherever we want to go, isn't it? So in the same way, there are rules in football, and only then it makes it a fun game, right? But the rules need not be, as in case of road, come from some authority, but here it can be co-created. Where and because they are co-created, they are not really rules, they are things which we have agreed upon, so they are just agreements, and those agreements can keep on changing as the needs of the group keeps on changing. So I think, and that itself is a beautiful journey to understand that I don't exist alone, we exist as an ecosystem, we have coexistence, and how we can kind of learn from each other, push each other, challenge each other, fight with each other, slap each other, and so on. Right? We all exist together. It's not all goody goody things. It's a full drama. Today, my child could be very upset with me, go in one room and sit in one corner. Tomorrow, I could be upset with my child. So we are living life. It has to have full drama. If it is not, it does not have all the masala. What's the whole point? So I am not looking at this question related only to gadgets. I can say, what about anything in open learning? Right? And to me, anything is defined by the life itself. So every moment is like that, and there is so much co-learning, coexisting, co-togetherness, which can be done with two people together, husband, wife, parent and child, could be done with a family, could be done at a community level. When we do it here, the numbers, I don't think, really matters. I don't know if we have answered your question, but I guess that those are some of the thoughts Anchal,
Yes, thank you. I got it.
Ratnesh, speaking of community, I have one question related to that, right?
you
If a,
Aarohi
as a
community?
hello?
Is that related to Aarohi community?
No. Any community as such,
Okay.
in general.
Okay.
So if a parent has chosen to do a homeschooling
Mm-hmm.
completely, right? So what we have seen, it's not just as we have learned as in conventional school or as we have been in our professional lives. Peers become too important to understand the things, to learn from them, to interact, uh, to exchange the thoughts, to socialize. So there are good set of things which can happen with peers,
Yeah.
uh, right? But with homeschooling, uh, do we miss that out, or how we kind of cover that up?
Okay, so that's what I was saying. So the social angle. So what about peers and social life kind of thing? Yeah, I missed out typing that question. That was there in the questions, and I missed that. So yeah, that's what you're talking about. Let me. So Kalpana, we'll come to your question. Just hold on to your question. Um, uh, let's take Mithun's question. I want responses from other people who I'm sure some people more than you have this question. Um, what about peers, social interaction, social life? Uh, what do you think? Are you also concerned, or you have your own take on this?
I do have a take on this, but I also have a concern. So, the take that I have on peers in social life is that, and it's a personal experience also, that when my kids were 2 years old and the other children in the family, they're going to the school, my husband often complained that our children are not social enough, and look at them, those who are going to the play school are much more social, and this and that. And we just saw, now they're 4 years old and we go to the park. I have seen like children, they just interact with everybody. If they sometimes go to the park and connect on their own and make their friends on their own. And I don't have to intervene. I just watch them from a distance, and they talk. I just need to see that they should be in a safe zone. But apart from that, I think social is about that. And the second thing about social, what I've read and what I've understood is that in life, if you see, we don't kind of only talk or interact with people who are our age. We talk to small children, to elders, everyone. Even if you're going and working in an office, it's not like people of the same age group who are together. So social is about having the ability, and to go and the confidence to go and talk to anyone about anything. And in unschooling and homeschooling, I think that is well taken care of, because children meet a lot of people through the day when they go down to the park, or if they go for grocery shopping, or if there's somebody coming home, or you're going to somebody's house, and they're more, in fact, because they live in the real world, so they interact more in the real space. So that is what I think about the social and peer group. But one of the concerns which I also have in this is that uh, I'm staying in a city. So in Delhi and Gurgaon, what happens? I have seen that if children are playing with other children, so there are very few parents like us who will just watch from a distance and let the children be and not intervene much. But I see that there's always a maid, like in Delhi or Gurgaon, we have a concept like one child, one nanny. So if there are two children in the family, there are two maids. And I see that children don't get to play that much with children of their age when they go out to the park freely. There is this constant nagging, constant,
They don't let the children play together to resolve on their own. If there's something happens, even a little discussion over something, or somebody running away with somebody's toys, there's always this overprotective person who's sitting to kind of jump in and resolve the matter. So this is the concern that I find when children go out to play in a city life. That was the concern that I had. I hope I was clear in that. Thanks.
Okay, so I heard 2 points, and both the points are I think quite huge. One is that there are actually no difference of children as they grow up without, let's say, if they have limited, so to say, peer interaction. Though I don't agree with even that there is limited, but let's assume that there is limited peer interaction in schooling or homeschooling. I don't think there's any difference. They still grow up to be normal human beings, and as she was saying, they can just go out and make friends when they want to. And the other point that Anchal made was also very huge, is that why are we only looking at the same age being peer, right? All different ages are peer, whether it's at home or whether it's at workplace or anywhere else. Everybody is a peer. Why not? All right. Let's not think in terms of ages. Let's go beyond ages. Uh, so those are two very very interesting points. Let's take more points. I'm not sure your concerns need to be addressed here. Meaning, if people are nannying their children, they are nannying their children. So let them nan their children. That's a choice they have made, right? We can decide if they are nagging their children. Let them nag their children. Let them decide how they want to live their life. We just go ahead and let our children deal with it, however they want to deal with it. Right. Okay. So more thoughts on this peer or social life. Um,
Uh, Ratnesh, this is Shankar here. So, what kind of we have a kind of worked out a solution kind of like thing like what we have is a group of parents who are homeschooling. I'm from Chennai,
yeah.
so they meet up probably regularly, about twice a week or something, based on their interests or based on space availability. And they have they have their free time, they have their play time, and then they sometimes have some sessions happening where some parent has something interesting for the whole group, and all that. And also I find that for us as a family, we live in a apartment community where there is a huge playing space, and there are these kids have friends and where they can go around safely and then play with them almost 2 to 3 hours a day every day. So that's kind of like they get all the socializing that they want, and they also go to other classes where they meet with friends and peers and all that. So that is also one kind of like socializing that they get. And yeah, but I have to agree that yeah, so though I have twins of the same, yeah, they sometimes, yes, they sometimes express a need to say, they say that yeah, Appa, I need some person of my age or my age group to sit and work with, not only for playing but during my experiments or like exploring information, all that. I would like to have some friends who are my own age group. So that is a concern that they have expressed. But uh, overall, this other than that, so we find that socializing happens in the play area almost on the daily basis, and in other classes that they go to. So that is one of the particular reasons why we chose an apartment community with play area and to live with. So we find that would have been difficult if we have been living in an individual house with no near play. I mean, like that's a concern in the cities, right? There are no safe playgrounds that we can just send our children on their own and then come back uh, on their own. So that is also there. So yeah, so that's just how we decided to handle it. So yeah.
Sure. I think those are very interesting decisions. That let's shift to an apartment so that they get a play area in the evening. And yes, the other points are, I think, equally valid. With that, you can meet as homeschooling group, you can have classes. if you can, if when your child says I want to do projects, you can also see if you can do projects together with other homeschooling kids. That's
Yeah,
another.
yeah, that's also something that we are exploring.
Yeah. So I also think that it is little this whole anxiety. Uh, okay, somebody's saying can't really hear you. Can others hear me? Arvind is saying that not able to hear me. Are others able to hear me?
Yeah, we are able to hear you, Ratnesh.
Okay. And he's able to hear others. That's interesting. Okay. Um, um, so what I was saying is also I think that the whole concern is little too overplayed. Meaning, first of all, we are all different. Some of us actually don't want so much of socialization. Some of us actually want, even in schools, I don't want people to be on to me and so on. So the other aspect is that the schools per se need not provide a lot of social space. There is so much, if you really look at, I don't know how your schooling was, but in my schooling, the real social space was only the recess, right? Beyond the recess, there was hardly any time for me to interact because in the class, there were hardly any, uh, group projects where I was actually given the space to actually work with children and actually learn. So the amount of interaction that I had, at least as a child, with other children within the school was only limited to, let's say, either before school or after school or during recess. And I think as children grow older, they will find if they want to do these, if they want, more children, they will figure out, they will find, they will make friends, they will end up doing projects also. They will say, so not just play area playing, but they will also say, you like electronics, I also like electronics. And we'll do it on Sundays and we'll do on weekends and we'll do it and so on. So I think children are able to whatever extent their needs are, they're able to find it. It's not too very difficult. And little bit plus minus is, I think, in any case, even in a school, not necessarily the child will find the right person to do things with or necessarily to learn from. Yeah. And as I think Anchal also pointed out, I don't think just because a person is older, that person is not good enough to do a project with, right? Or do a assignment with, or play a game with, or learn a skill with. So let's not discount a lot of adults whom the child can be with and learn from as a peer learner, not as a teacher taught, but as a peer. Two of us doing the same project together rather than the rather than with an expert. So, uh, but by and large, I think let's not worry too. My personal opinion is, after seeing so many children over so many years, is that we worry about it. That's just an expectation we have created. Society has created. Oh, this child is so socially outgoing. My child is so quiet. But come on, many of us are quiet people, and we just like our own space. We don't like too many people around. So it's all right. In, and that's what something which happened even with my two children. My daughter didn't feel that need at all, and my son went ahead and found people to play with, much like in the play area space, like how this was being shared. So okay, more thoughts on this, or still people have doubts, still people have concerns? We can talk a little more about this if uh, people want to talk more about this. Okay, so then we can obviously come back to it. Let's take Kalpana's question. She's saying, uh, will kids take advantage of unschooling? Okay, so that really depends on how you define unschooling. See, if you say that these are the subjects that you need to study, uh, then you may have this problem if the children don't want to study what you want them to study, right? So then there is a clash of motivation. The child isn't motivated to study and you want to force, then obviously the child will take advantage. In school, the child can't run off the classroom, but at home, the child can, whatever, have a book inside the book, uh, like a comic book inside the textbook, like how I used to have when I was a kid. But um, but really, if we let the child lead, if we let the child choose, not lose and choose, uh, and then the child is picking up what he wants to learn, then there is no reason for child to not uh, learn what he wants to learn, which could including be playing. Playing itself can be such a huge learning. if I just play a game or anything well, right, at different ages. Obviously, at 12, they will not just play with blocks, they will play how to robotize the blocks, right, at 12 years. But at 4 years, they will just play with the blocks. To me, that's not playing. Or if they are playing running around game, that means at 4 years, they will play running around game, which is simple running around game. But at 12, 13, 14, 15, they will make it much, much more challenging and different ways of creating learning out of it. So it really depends on how you define you know, which is where the first question is. I think people get this anxiety: hey, will it be done, will it happen properly, will it be done properly, will children take advantage of it? I think it's like saying that, hey, children will take advantage of anything, but they aren't right. uh, they aren't trying, they're just trying to live their life. They aren't really trying to take advantage of anything. If we just start living our life, then where is the need to take advantage of anything? I don't know if that resonates, but that's the way I look at it. And uh, yeah, I think, and also when children see options of that, I can do this also, I can do this also, perhaps they inherently designed to do a lot of work. It may take little time for them to figure out which is the things that they like doing. So that may take some time, and we just need to carry along with them. At least that's my view. I don't know what has been others' experience. Do you have conflict of playing versus so-called studies, or is playing only studies and studying is also play? How do you look at it?
I think this concept of play. I think children learn the most by playing, and they can study while they're playing, because most of the concepts, if we see, are, I mean, if you go down to science or anything, everything is out there in the open. We have whatever is there in the open, we have put it in the textbooks and made books out of it. So it is a very funny thing, but I didn't know. I never taught my daughter anything like this, and I was quite surprised yesterday. She was playing with a balloon, and it just happened yesterday, so I can share last night. And she wanted to play with me, and so one of the balloons, she said, "Mama, if you do like this, it's going to burst, and then you'll not be able to play." So I just asked her why I'll not be able to play if it bursts. So she said, because then there'll be no air, it'll not go up. So I never taught her all this. They're making sense all the time. So there is, I mean, I probably did not know till a very long time that, the balloon is going up because of the air and all. It's only these concepts when he started studying in school, maybe we realize. But if we see that, while playing, they're constantly learning. In fact, it's very funny. Sometimes I don't know, I really find it difficult. At 4 years, my children, whenever they do something which I don't understand what they're doing, they said we are just doing a science experiment, and I don't know what does that mean, because I'm not able to relate to it. They'll just take all the atta and put it in the balloon and put water, and I don't know. I said, what did you do? They said, we were just doing a science experiment. Now I don't know how to react also. I sometimes get very confused. What is this experiment and what are they trying to do? So I would
shout on them and they say, "Mama, why are you shouting?" You say, "I'm doing a science experiment." You make everything into science experiment.
Yeah, I know. That's a good one.
I don't want to eat this dish. Say you have to eat. It's a science experiment.
Yeah, good one. I was actually thinking, what should I answer them? Every time they do something, and then they say it was just a science experiment. Why you even looking at me like that? So I think everything, I mean, if they go on the slide while they're coming down, everything is learning to play. But this is at this age. I don't know about the older age. I'm still to reach there and face the challenges. Maybe somebody else can throw light on that. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. I think Indra is talking about. Okay, the spouse is not kind of convinced about it. Well, you have to invite all of us to your house. Indra, we are what, 18 of us here in for a tea party, and then we will all try to convince your spouse. Anyway, jokes apart, yeah, meaning that's something a lot of parents face. I've had a lot of parents who even uh, put their child in Aarohi and then had to pull them out because after some months the spouse was, no, sorry, this isn't working. Uh, so I guess that's your journey. I can't do much about it, in the sense. Um, but what one interesting aspect that you can work on is not try and convince him or her. As in, I'm generalizing it to your spouse, not just Indra's spouse, but anybody's spouse. So not because we tend to think that I've got the right answer, and now I need to convince that person who I think has got the wrong answer. You know what I mean? My choice is better than your choice, kind of thing. um, so I would say the moment we get into the convincing or kind of changing mode, the resistance is even more. But when we kind of accept and it just bring up a lot of discussions, not from the point of view of that, hey, here I prove my point. I think that is what really spoils the whole thing. First of all, deep down, we need to be convinced that whatever is his or her point of view is absolutely perfect, as much as my point of view is absolutely perfect. And we both can agree to disagree, and then we can take up discussions, very open discussions, understanding his point of view, you understanding his, and inviting him or her to understand your point of view, and so on. And then the daily discussions about all kinds of things. It could be what is happening with your child, it could be what you faced as a child, it could be an article somewhere, it could be anything, right? And the more we kind of create an environment of accepting uh, and understanding each other, I guess you will co-evolve. Where will you reach? I don't know, and I don't think anybody needs to know. Even you don't need to know. It's not about, as I said, getting him to buy the sari that you want. This is different. This is life, and life isn't about just my views rule. It's about our understanding evolves. I guess there is a difference between the two. My rules, or my thought rules, or my view rules, as compared to we co-evolve with each other. So I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm just rambling, but I think that point of view. I'll give you my experience when I started working with children way back 20 years back. I used to get all worked up. Why is this parent doing like this? Why is this parent doing like this? And I wanted to kind of give them gyan and get them kind of set them right, change them and fix them, kind of a thing. And I realized that nothing worked. And then I say, hey, this was the first whatever couple of years, and then I realized, what am I doing? They're as good as me. They're better than me, man. Let me be more humble about myself. Let me start with where they are. Let me try and understand their thoughts, their feelings, their intentions, their viewpoints, their belief systems. Let me go into their world first, right? And then if there is a space, they will like to hear my world too. And I don't know whether that has changed anybody, because the whole idea is now no more to change, but that has made us more accepting of each other's. And at least I am at peace, even if the other person has not even changed a bit, or has evolved, kind of co-evolved. So yeah, I don't know if it makes sense.
It does, Ratnesh. It does, and I can very well connect. I seriously, in the last 3 years, I've learned to disassociate myself from certain situations and then see a particular thing, and it's kind of resolved. And you very rightly said that you are at peace then, when you disassociate, and sometimes I double disassociate. So I sit back, think what I would do in a particular situation if this is a situation. So, that self talk, rather diving and reacting on certain things. So I was able to relate. I was the one that I want to change the parents. How could they do this to the children? How are they doing this? So I was always inside the group talking about, calling the parents on calls, no, come and meet me. So that has changed now in last 2 3 years, and I've now more a part of their family first, understand, be, and I visited also the families for that reason. And the things have changed for me drastically. There is a lot of pause and peace now,
Yeah.
and I can see clear pictures. I mean, sitting here, I can see sometimes in the family, oh, this would be the situation, this would be happening there. Let me just take my role in a different way. So, yes, I'm with you completely in this.
Yeah, which is why I say that a relationship either with the child or with the spouse or with the grandparents is a relationship. We need to relationship to me means we need to relate to them, not we need to separate from them. It's not a separatorship. There's no word like that.
Absolutely.
It's not about two going in different direction. It's not about, but it's trying to relate to each other. I think that requires, yes, effort, investment, uh,
True.
and
And
it's back. Yeah.
because of this thing has actually been a part of a body language now. So I can have a good rapport with the children as well. So that change has also occurred because of this. So more rapport with the children, more understanding, and then there is no problem actually that I have to sort out. It's like going on life. Each day is beautiful. I mean, to live with.
Okay, so Indra has an interesting question. She's asking, can we do both OL and regular schooling? So Indra, meaning I don't really have an answer to your question. If you realize we talked about a continuum, so you can be anywhere in the continuum, all right? And even within the structured school, let's say your child goes to school, you can be a very, what I call as an open parent. For example, my mother, at least, and my parents, both of them, when I was a kid, used to say to me that they just don't care about what I learn in school. They don't care about what marks I get in school. Uh, they said just enjoy, um, and just do what you want to do, even in the school. So much so that when I reached 10th standard examination, and I was in a Kendriya Vidyalaya, which is a hardcore CBSE regular school. Um, I have said I do not want to learn biology. I do not want to dissect animals and stuff like that or mug up all these terms. So I, in my board exam, do not want to give 10. And sorry, in my board exam, do not want to sit for the biology as a subject. Yeah, I want to be allowed not to sit. Sorry, not in 10. Sorry, I've got it wrong. 11th and 12th. I want to take the science stream, but I don't want to do biology at all. So now that was not available as a choice in Kendriya Vidyalaya. I don't think it's available even today. But my mother was so much with me. She said, okay, I will talk to the school. I will talk to the principal. The principal said, sorry, this doesn't work in Kendriya Vidyalaya. You can go and talk to the chief of Kendriya Vidyalaya who sits in Delhi. And she went there and talked to the chief of Kendriya Vidyalaya, Sangathan or something like it is called. And I actually, you won't believe it, did not give biology as the subject in my 12th examination. My mark sheet shows that it has only physics, chemistry, maths. It does not have biology. By at that time, I don't know what's the current situation. Biology was mandatory. So I'm saying you can do that. You can do that in your own way. You can open up as much as you can. You don't need to say to the child, do homework. Say to hell with homework. Do what you feel like. um, then it's really up to you. So it's possible. It's possible to that extent that I skipped giving an examination. Or you can go ahead and write when the examination time comes, drop out of the school. Say, I finally at the 10th, I don't want to give 10th. Okay, what is Pratima saying? In OL, there's not much of a writing. Whoever said that? Uh, Pratima, why did you say that in OL there is not much of writing? Uh,
Hello, yeah, Ratnesh. See, I don't know whether it's up to the child, right? So if my daughter decides not to write at all throughout the day, and then how does she cope up in the when it comes to 10th?
Okay, just 1 minute. Okay, so I still don't get you. Meaning, if the child doesn't like writing,
Yes.
um,
And she goes through open schooling, say till about ninth standard, and 10th she wants to write the exam. Doesn't it become difficult for them to take to writing, in the end, in the nth moment?
uh, my answer is, again, I have 2 or 3 points. First point is, I'm not sure if the child does not like writing. The child may not like to write what others want the child to write. For
Okay.
example, if a child likes a song and the child wants to write down the lyrics, why wouldn't the child write the lyrics? I'm just giving you an example, right?
Okay.
Number one, just see in your open learning, are you giving enough space for writing? Enough? Is there enough invitations to write wonderful things? For example, are you writing letters to your child? Yeah. If
Okay.
you are
Yeah.
not writing a letter, then how, to whom is she supposed to write a letter? We can't just go to the child and say, Beta, write letters. But if I write a letter to her, let's say one letter every day, which to me should take about, let's say, 5 minutes, and I think I can spare those 5 minutes for the child. I write 5 minutes every day a letter to her without asking for her to reply. You see what will happen by the 100th letter that reaches her. She will feel like replying. If she, first few days she may want to come and talk about that letter and say, this is what I think, this is what I think, and then slowly she will also start writing. Or you can invite her that, why don't you also write to me? I want to save all your thoughts. If you say to me, I can't save them, but if you write to me, I can save them in a nice little file, with a little ribbon on its end. So what I'm trying to say is, we are looking at writing as a task, but writing is such a beautiful thing. It's a way to express my own thoughts. For example, here in Aarohi, every day for 15 minutes, every child, every adult writes their journal. Their journal is like a daily diary. Everybody writes. What they write in it, nobody knows. We don't open anybody's notebook and see what they write. They can draw, they can write.
Ah,
But very soon they start writing and they want to write more. After 15 minutes is over, they say, no, I want to write more. Don't stop this time of 15 minutes. Why they want to write more, it's up to them, but they write because they want to write. Right? So that's the first point. Let's create an environment of writing. The second thought you shared was that at the ninth, she suddenly realizes that for examination, assuming that she wants to give the examination, not you, that's the big one. So let's say she wants to give an examination. She realizes that for examination, I need to know how to write. Believe me, 1 year is more than enough time for her to develop the skills to write for an examination. We are underestimating children. We are underestimating their speed to learn anything at any age. Yeah. Don't think that 1 year is too less. 1 year is more than enough.
okay. Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you, Ratnesh. I mean, this thought of writing letters and all is very innovative. I will surely think of that.
Please also realize there's no age to learn, there is no time to learn. If
True.
I want to do something, if I want to give an exam, the problem comes with the parents want the child to give an exam. The
Correct.
child doesn't want to write anything, forget examination. That's when all the problem happens. But if a child wants to write an exam, child wants to say, oh, I want to go to this college, or I want to become this particular profession, let's say a lawyer profession, which invariably requires an LLB degree. So then I need to write an examination. If I need to write an examination, I will learn how to write. What's the big deal?
True.
Right. So I think
Yeah,
it
true.
will come from the child. Okay. Third, and this is important, I think somewhere we are, if you are still, this whole point is more global, not just about writing. If you are constantly worrying about the 10th, then please put the child in the school. Right? If that's what you are worried about, then why are you doing this? Right? Then worry about that. Then solve that worry first. Right? If 10th is not your worry, if the exam or the college is not your worry, then start the open schooling. Then start saying, let's enjoy learning, not for any exam. If we'll worry about it when we reach there. So I'm saying, let's step back and question, why are we here? Why are we doing this? What I really want? Am I really wanting the child to get into 10th and get into engineering or get into this and get into that and become a journalist and da 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 da? If all of that is your wish list and that is what that child is in agreement with, then please go ahead and put the child in a school. Schools are a great place. I'm not trying to put down schooling in any which way. I'm just saying they are a highway to reach somewhere. And if you want to take the highway, please take the highway. But if you want to take these village roads and enjoy the journey and see this also and learn that also, and if you want to be in this, then come to this. Otherwise, if you are half the mind is there and you are here, then that's more tension for you and for the child, for the whole family. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's
Yeah.
very, very important. That whole perspective of why are we here? Why are we doing this?
True, true. Thank you so much.
Okay. Um, right. So there's Anjum, would you like to come on to the mic? That would be better. When you're saying your daughter has not done much, well, I don't know. What do you mean by not done much?
Yeah, hi. This is Anjum here.
Yes, Anjum.
Actually, see, my daughter, she unschooled herself, after 7th, she didn't go to school.
Great.
She wanted to do this homeschooling and learn a lot of organic farming and this, that, and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I see that there is no improvement. In fact, she's lost her confidence. She has lost how to communicate. She doesn't know how to communicate with people. I see that, her morale is a little down. And on top of it, there is a lot of pressure from the, society and the family, and the elders and all those things. They tell her, up to 12th standard, at least you should go to regular school. After that, you do whatever you want. But, you should do at least 10th or 12th standard. So even being a mother, I'm confused, whether to tell my child to get back to the regular school or, continue her to do the homeschooling. This is one. Yeah. Because, see, from 1 year, she's hardly, she's a good child. She learns to, love to learn by herself. But she's focused only on a little bit of science and social studies. Other things, no, not at all. Okay, and again, one more thing is when I tell her there are so many things which are available on the net, go and Google and learn about the subject. I'm not telling you to get the marks. I want you to gain the knowledge about any particular subject. But the thing is, when we give the phones and the mobile and laptop or something like that, they keep Googling something else which is irrelevant to this, studies.
Sure.
They spend their time on the Instagram or, watching some teenage series and something like that.
Sure.
So I hope you understand the three teenage problems here. So that's why I'm confused whether we took a right decision by unschooling her at the critical stage of her life, the teenage,
Sure.
or not. Confused. You need to help me with this.
Sure. So I'll try to briefly answer this here because, and if you want further help, we can talk more outside this session. Yeah.
Sure.
The first thought that is coming to my mind after hearing you is possibly there is a lot of, as you yourself said, there's a lot of pressure from the relatives, the extended family, I don't know who all says that you should be learning this, and why are you at home and so on. So if she's under a lot of pressure, then obviously she needs somebody like you to ease out that pressure. Yeah. So that is one important aspect. Sometimes when other people in the family disapprove of this and are more in sync with the conventional schooling, and then every interaction they are kind of measuring the child. Whenever they look at the child, they are measuring, and the child can feel it from everybody around her, and that becomes a huge emotional issue. It becomes a huge burden onto the child, and then the child is neither able to do what she wants to do nor able to live up to those expectations, and that's like a pressure cooker. So that's somewhere you need to work on with the child to help her realize that whatever decision she has taken, you are with her and it doesn't matter what people say and so on. So that's going to be a lot of daily work. It's like a leaking bucket, the the relatives and the neighbors and everybody else in your close community are like the holes in the bucket. They're kind of taking out her her let's say, okay, so for want of a better word, I'm using the word confidence, or her own understanding about this open learning, while the only person possibly filling the bucket is you and her and maybe your husband. So only 2 3 people. So your filling has to be more than what is getting leaked out, right? So that's one. The second thing is you will need to really look at what are the options she is working on now that she is at home. Are we only going back to the subjects, back to the things that she came out of? If she said that she doesn't want to be in school, then what is it that she wants to? Is she really can we keep away all the subjects for some time, and is she able to find what is it that she really wants to do, right? This is a tough question to answer. No matter at what age, there are enough 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, Anjum, who are totally wasting their time. You said on gadgets. Yes, they're wasting their time on gadgets, on TVs, and God knows what. They don't know what do they want out of their life, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Lakhs and lakhs of people, right? And
I
what
I motivate her and tell her, like, just write down what is that you want to achieve, like, short goals, at least
Yeah,
some two
yeah. So,
goals.
so that's one thing, but there could be many other ways of doing it, and many ways in which you can support her in this journey, because she may not have the answer soon. And suppose again there can be a pressure on, hey, find that answer soon. Okay, it's been 6 months since you've been thinking what you want. Now tell us what you want. You know what I mean? And that itself can be a huge pressure. Oh, why am I not finding what I want? That's where that acceptance, that a out of that space where what I was talking about is really required. And when we say that you can take, dear, not just 1 year, you can take 10 years to find what you really want to do, right? Not everybody knows at the age of 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 what do they want from their life. But if they get distracted, if they get pressured all over the place, then they can never find it. But if we give them the space to actually find it, and finding it doesn't mean that I need to all the time just do whatever Google or as you said, write it down. But finding out could mean that I just explore a lot of different things for the joy of exploring, even if it's one thing in a month, and so on. So I'm saying, I hope you're getting my idea, that one is we need to take out the pressure of people asking, of people demanding the whatever 10th and 12th and college. And on the other side, you would need to support her in understanding herself as to what is she really liking to do. And sometimes being blank for a certain amount of time, not doing anything, is good. Okay. One of the things which has helped, I don't know uh, if in your scenario it is possible or not, is traveling. When we are in the house, when there is this constant thing about you have to do this, you have to do this, then it becomes too much. When I go out of the house, when I just travel. Now travel doesn't mean tourism. Travel means I can go and stay with different people whom whom are ready to accommodate her. Just stay 1 week somewhere, 1 month somewhere. Just go and be a volunteer somewhere in a place. Be an apprentice somewhere. Somebody's running a business, somebody's running a factory, somebody's running something. Just go and work with an aunt, with an uncle, and stay there for a month, stay there 1 week. So when you travel, when you go to different places, when you do that, opens up your mind, and that really helps older children get a more grip on themselves. You work in a cafe which an auntie runs, want to work in a, you know what I'm meaning. She can travel to places like Aarohi and many other places and stay there. So when you travel away, at least that pressure of what are you learning now, if anybody asks you what are you doing, say I'm traveling for the next 6 months or for the next 3 months, and that's wonderful. That's an activity by itself, which does not have a result, thankfully. I don't have to collect souvenirs out of the travel, so because that's not tourism. So it eases out pressure, and the child is actually able to see, meet a lot of people, and that can really help. International, that is something which is very strongly used by other countries in Europe, and to some extent in US. There's a very high level of volunteering where people are traveling, sometimes even on their own if they are of that age, and if their parents are okay with that, and doing and volunteering in other organizations. there are websites devoted to gap year travels, where if you want to travel to other countries in the years when you have stepped out of schools and colleges. So that's something very, very interesting to do, and something that you can look into. I think,
Yeah,
yes, yeah. And as I said, if you need more help, especially with the emotional side of the child, we can help you offline. Um,
uh, yeah,
one,
I would like to talk to you offline because there are a lot of things to discuss. So I don't want to like hold up others. Yeah.
sure.
I will like definitely like call you and talk to you in
Yeah.
person.
What I will suggest to you is, if you can write to me a detailed mail about all the aspects, all the things that are troubling, on all the things that she is doing before we get into a discussion. That helps us. First of all, it brings the writing down brings clarity to your mind, and then it helps us understand your situation, and then we can have a scheduled phone call or a Zoom call like this and talk to each other.
Sure, 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 sure,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. More questions. I will also put the next slide. This slide is more related to NIOS exams, career. Um, so if anybody has these kind of questions, you can ask. And since we are kind of nearing 1 o'clock, if there's any specific Aarohi related question, you can also ask me that. But before you ask me an Aarohi related question, let me just upfront invite all of you. You can anytime come to Aarohi, stay with us as parent, with the child, only parent, any which way you can come for a day visit, you can come for multiple days, weeks, month, however you want. It's very, very open. The website has all the detail. If you need help, you can get in touch with us. So that invitation is open, and you can come and see how we work here. And if that helps you, or that helps your child, or this environment helps your child, you're most welcome. Okay, so that was a little spiel about Aarohi. Over to you. Questions related to previous slide, this slide, Aarohi, anything? Oh, Achal, don't worry about the message. That was the best chat message I've received today. Yep. Anybody, any questions regarding 10th, NIOS, whatever, jobs, career, anything actually? We have a couple of minutes. In fact, 1 o'clock is, at least for me, not a deadline. If anybody has a question and wants to still talk about it after one, I can spare more time. Also, if you want to log out now, or if you're getting late, you're most welcome to call us and or email us and connect with us for any questions, any help, any suggestions, any which way. Only even if you just want to uh, us to just be listening to you, we are there. Okay. Yeah. One. Yeah. Please go ahead. Somebody was on mic. Please go ahead.
Ratnesh Vartika here. Do you have any pointers in terms of if you're looking for an alternate school? How should we decide which alternate school to go for? Do you have any pointers?
Okay. Alternate school. So this term alternate school is uh, very strange, like most terms are. I personally don't know which school is an alternate school and which school is not an alternate school. So it really depends on what you are looking for. There are a lot of schools which are still following classes, still following syllabus, still following teacher method, but they say they are alternate schools, which is fine. That's how they look at themselves. So, but there are some spaces which are not following schools, not following classes, not following curriculum. So again, in that continuum, there are schools also are at different points, and they also keep changing, moving here and there, left and right. If you remember the uh, you know the continuum that we talked about, yeah, this one, sorry. So given that the schools are also dynamic, as well as each one is at different place, I guess you will have to see what is it that you want, and how much of that is the school giving. The only pointer I have is, uh, whichever school you're talking about, if there are alternate schools, then they should allow two things to me. One is allow parents to talk to teachers. So just don't talk to the people who are sitting in the admin office, people like me. Go and talk to the teachers, because finally in many schools the teachers are the one who actually interact with the children, not the principal or whatever, the head of the school. That's number one. And two, to me, the school should allow you to observe a day in the school. If
Okay.
if they are saying no, we can't allow it, then what are they alternate about? Right? As in, why not? What are you afraid of that children, when you come and see a school day or yeah. So can you not observe? I will challenge anybody who's saying no, 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 we can't allow you to come and observe a day and sit in different classes and get a feel of this place. I mean, why not? If not that, then how does it work? uh, so anyway, that's my point of view. Completely, you can reject it or select it, but those are the 2 pointers I would have. uh,
Okay. Thank you.
okay. uh, okay, Vanika is saying jobs, careers for children passing out of open schooling. Okay, so Varnika, so two thoughts there. One is that the children are pretty much like any other child. So it's not that they end up making different career choices. There are children who make regular go to schools and come into very alternate kind of careers, and there are children who are into open learning and go into very regular careers, let's say software, or uh, let's say journalism, or whatever, law, or doctor, or whatever. So it's not the career that they are any different. Which brings me to the second point, that the whole idea of open learning is not to create a different child, but to give him or her a different childhood, to say that the first 20-25 years of your life you can live the way you want to live. You do not have to, you know live it as a preparation for the rest of the life. No, come on. One third, if I say average whatever life expectancy is 100, then let's say 1/4 of my life I live for the rest of the 3/4 of my life. That doesn't make sense to me. Why can't I live the first 1/4 of my life where I'm full of energy the way I want to? So that to me is the big picture, right? Saying this is your life, dear, live how you want to live. So then it doesn't matter what the child does after 25 years. That's anyway child's life. And realize that from 0 to 25, it won't happen in a day. Every single day we are living the life. So there's a lot of interaction, discussion, reflection, and so on. So we are with the child in this long journey of 25 into 365 days. And that is what will make the child's childhood. And I'm sure the child will be in that long interactive journey, will be able to figure out what the child wants to do as a career or a job, or a mode of earning. Even if that means the child comes up to me and says, I don't want to earn anything, I'll work in a place as a volunteer where I'm allowed to live there, let's say in an ashram. Why not? Then I don't need to even earn anything. So, you know it can be anything, actually. Okay, so I think, yeah, we will kind of pause the session. Pavitra is saying summarize, that's the toughest job. How do I um, summarize? So yeah, I was on the slide of Aarohi. So as I was saying, the children can use Aarohi, come here, stay here. Parents can use Aarohi, by coming and staying here. Any age children, any age parents are welcome, grandparents are welcome. We also conduct a program called Jagriti, which also, if you want, you can attend, which helps, perhaps would help you to work with your child more openly, whether the child goes to a school or not. So these are some of the ways in which we can help. Uh, we can always help by receiving your call or emails and responding to them. So we are there. Right. So how do I summarize? Well, I think this is the summary slide. I don't know if it rings with you, but that's what I can talk about it. That it's not about making it easy for the child or easy for you. In fact, unschooling or open learning is far more work on the parent, on the child, but it's a lot of fun and it's worth it. Yep. So we can stop here. As I said, if you still have questions, you can email, call us, uh, connect with us. We'll definitely help you to whatever extent we can. Shall we say goodbye?
Thanks a lot, Ratnesh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ratnesh.
Yes, thank you so much. It was a very insightful session. Thanks a lot.